Hey there, oops. All right, hey, how's it going, everyone? Let me check to see how we're looking here. I think we're looking pretty good. Yeah. All right. Hi, I'm Todd Nauck. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So, well, it's continues to be San Diego Comic-Con at Home Day 1 here, Thursday, July 23rd. So, hopefully you got to join me for my art live stream earlier this morning. Earlier today, I should say, in the morning time. I drew Colossus on a post-it note. That was a lot of fun. Pardon me, good to hang out with y'all. So, yeah, here we're back. This is my Artist Alley table here on my YouTube channel, since none of us can be at the San Diego Convention Center for San Diego Comic-Con this weekend. So, so weird not being there, because I've done that con every year since 1994. So yeah, it's kind of weird to not be there because I'm so used to that. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad you're here with me. So today I'm going to draw, or for this live stream, I'm drawing Magik from the New Mutants on this New Mutants sketch cover. In fact, I need to take it out of the bag and board here. I love the New Mutants. I grew up reading that series as a teenager. Definitely one of my favorite comics. And so excited to get to draw on this New Mutants sketch cover, which I purchased online. Let me adjust my mic here so I have plenty of room. Hopefully you can still hear me well, and I don't go bumping the mic while I draw. It's a little crowded here, but hey, I'm used to that because San Diego Comic-Con is crowded. So I'll try to respond to your comments and questions while I draw. We're just going to hang out and chat. So yeah, let's get to drawing. So I'm using my Unikuratoga 0.3 HB lead mechanical pencil. Bought this online. So let's see. I'm going to try to figure out how to pose Magik here. So we'll probably just try roughing something in. If I don't like it, I'll erase and try something else. Gonna try more of a full figure shot instead of a headshot. I just want to try working in this pose here. Sorry if I'm not able to respond to much or do a lot of talking here. This is like the heavy thinking time, is when I'm putting together a pose or figuring out a layout. That's where my brain really is crunching a lot of data. It's taking what I'm kind of imagining mixed with what I'm actually seeing happen on the page. And so, and then I make edits as I go. As I watch it come to life, I make choices, and then sometimes new choices. So, so it uses up a lot of the processing power in the noggin here, in the old cranium. So, so I apologize if I'm not terribly chatty just yet. Just trying to make sure I figure out how to put everything together the way I want it to be, or the way I feel it needs to be. So I make a lot of shapes, a lot of lines, and really try to figure out how to put this all together. It's not always easy, but it's still fun. And it just takes some time, some effort, and some thought, but really allowing myself to put the thought into it. So welcome everyone, glad you're here for Comic-Con online, Comic-Con at home. I'm broadcasting from my studio instead of being down at my table at San Diego Comic-Con. I'm just taking my time here to just work out the shapes make adjustments as needed. I'm going to draw, right now I plan on drawing Ilyana in a very classic costume. Her uniform from the late 80s. We don't really get to see it a lot. There's the initial X-Men class uniform that all the New Mutants started out in, the classic yellow and black school uniform. And then in the second half of the series, when they kind of stole their graduation costumes, long story. Read New Mutants. It's a fun book. I'm going to draw her red and black costume from that time. How's the light looking here? So I'm setting up a new studio here. These new webcams here, so I can do picture-in-picture, broadcasting through my Wacom tablet as for my OBS streaming hub. So learning a lot as I go here, and I'll probably purchase some new lights here at some point to really up that level here. Kind of been doing it bit by bit. So learning as I go. Am I a fan of The Walking Dead? I read most of the comic series. I kind of stalled out around issue 120, 125, somewhere around there. So I'm way behind in the reading. I know the series is done. The comic book series is done. Never really got into the TV show. I hear it's well done, but just never got into it. Mainly because I don't have cable. So when it first aired on AMC, I couldn't watch it. And then by the time it went to streaming, there's just so many other streaming shows I was into. I just never got around to watching it. Maybe I will someday, but currently not yet. So these more full figure illustration, a bit more to think about than just doing a headshot. Headshot, you just got the head, the neck, maybe the shoulders. When you're working with the full body here, so much more to think about. And when you start to put them in a pose, start dealing with foreshortening and muscle movement, makes things significantly more difficult. A lot more I have to think about. Figure out her hair, her facial expression, all that sort of stuff. So, you know what? We're in no rush. This might be a long live stream. You're so glad to have you here hanging out with me, and we can continue to chat as we go, especially once I start to get enough of the details in to where it doesn't require as much as my brain as much of my brain power. Try that line a second time, and yeah, just hang out. So just as we would at my Artist Alley table at San Diego Comic-Con. So yeah, so glad you're here. We'll just kind of see how things go here. And if you're watching this on replay, welcome. So glad you're here. But live people, let's see. How's my day so far? So far, so good. Had fun doing today's morning live stream. Glad to be here for the afternoon live stream. And actually, I should be making an appearance on another live stream on Twitch later tonight. I can't remember the name of the video podcast I've been invited to. But I hope to once they give me the login info to join them, I will let people know which channel I'll be on as best I can. So stay tuned to at least my Twitter and possibly Instagram. Definitely my Twitter. I'll try to post that on Twitter. It's these 4 guys. They talk comics and art and stuff like that. So so they invited me to be a part of their live stream, and I haven't heard from them yet today. So I'm not sure if the invitation still stands. I'm sure it does. I'm sure I'll get an email from them soon about how to meet up with them. But that's another place I'll be later today, and that's at 7 p.m. Pacific is the time of that live stream. So I'd be 10 p.m. Eastern. So that's tonight's evening Comic-Con activity. So that should be a lot of fun to talk comics and art with those guys. I've seen a couple other episodes. It looks like a lot of fun. They have a good sense of humor and seem like really cool guys. So I think it'll go well. Let's see, where's my eraser? You want to see more of my art? Well, make sure you're following me on my social media accounts, especially my Instagram. That's where you can see the most of my art, and also in the comic books that I draw. So all my social media links are in the video description below of pretty much every video and live stream I post here on my YouTube channel. So no shortage of content on my social media. And I try to post at least once a day. Just trying to figure out how to tackle this face here. How do I capture? That Ilyana vibe. Is this costume when she was a part of the Hellions, or during the time Magneto was headmaster. During the time Magneto was headmaster, just after Fall of the Mutants, but prior to Inferno. Some of my favorite X-Men and New Mutants crossovers, Fall of the Mutants and Inferno. If you haven't read those, oh, you got to check them out. You got to check them out. Some of my all-time favorite comic book stories, especially Inferno. So you might notice here I'm putting more time in the pencils here. It's really, you know, I need to make sure I have the shapes and the details where I want / need them to be before I commit to the inks. So definitely not a process one wants to rush. Really about, for me, you know, double checking my math, you know, before I move to the next stage as best as I can. So this is the costume where she has the little red jacket and the red belt and the black capri pants with the black slippers, the black flats. It's that costume, very specific costume. She has a little black mask, which I'm working on right now. I want to try to get that snarky look she often has. Kind of has that look of snarkiness and kind of like she's always upset. Not always, but a lot of times, you know, she's always. That's about the best Ilyana impersonation I can pull off. It's not to say she was never good natured. She absolutely was. She could be quite good natured with, you know, hanging out with her friends, the New Mutants, or her best pal, Kitty Pryde. Let's see if there are any questions here I can address or chat about. Here's an interesting one. Do you like Murder, She Wrote? You know, I have never, ever watched an episode of Murder, She Wrote. When the show first aired, I think I was too young to really be interested in a show like that. And now that I'm older and I enjoy a good murder mystery, you would think that would be a show I could get into. My wife has actually asked, hey, do you want to try binging Murder, She Wrote? I mean, there's plenty of episodes. We'll see what the future holds. If this pandemic lasts long enough, I just might become a fan of Murder, She Wrote. But yeah, have not watched it yet, but very familiar with it. I mean, what's the was it the main character's name? Jessica Fletcher. I mean, I know a bit about the show. I just have never watched it. I just know what I know what has been referred to in pop culture. Is it Angela Lansbury that plays Jessica Fletcher on that show? I can almost talk about it like I was a fan of the show. But any deep cut question it would show how little I truly do know about the show. But it does sound interesting. It's just haven't taken the time to crack into it. Fun question though, very fun question, very unexpected. Let's see, here's an interesting question, kind of what I addressed earlier, but I can expound on it more. Is your drawing making apparent an idea you have in your mind's eye, or seeing what works on the board? And the answer is yes, both ways. For most of the time, what I imagine in my mind's eye is kind of like a foggy, it's like seeing a picture through the fog. It's not 100% crystal clear. I've got this loose idea in my head. It's kind of like looking at something through frosted glass. And then once I start drawing and I start putting the shapes and lines down on the paper, and I see it start to come to life, I start to see it take form and go through the steps I need to draw it and make sure things fit, I then have the freedom to make edits and changes to what I have imagined as I go. So yes, it's both ways. I see it in my mind's eye, and then, but only loosely. It's oftentimes a faint image. It's rarely is it just crystal clear blue sort of picture in my head. It's rarely that. And that kind of, it's the only way I really know. I mean, I'm sure some people have a crystal clear image in their head and they just illustrate that. Some people probably have less than what I have, but you only know what you know, and you just work with what you're capable of doing, and that's your normal. So this is my normal, is to draw in this way, to imagine in this way, and it's just kind of it's just the way I roll. And but I do like, having that freedom to make edits or changes as I go, that it's not so locked into my head that I can't come up with a better idea building on that initial idea, if that makes sense. Because sometimes our first idea isn't always the best idea. Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't. But we kind of don't know until we just start to kind of give it a go. And not mean for that to rhyme, but if it, nothing wrong with rhyming. So it's just kind of allowing that freedom to let the drawing take on a life of its own. I think that's kind of where it puts me, is allowing the drawing to kind of reveal itself just as much as me trying to enact my vision, bring my vision to fruition. Again, rhyming. I'm dropping the sick rhymes, people. I hope someone's writing these down. Or I guess I could just go back and rewatch this and jot down my dope rhymes. All right, so she's coming together. I'm sure, as you've noticed here as we go, it's formulating bit by bit. We had some really basic initial lines and shapes, and then over the course of time here, it just develops and changes and grows and changes. So you give her a little teleportation portal here that she's known for, which is technically her mutant power, is the teleportation discs that send her through limbo, which is kind of this hellish pocket dimension. And so that's kind of the unfortunate part of her power, where time and space are almost meaningless. So if she's not careful, she can teleport in at one time and end up in another time. She has to be very careful when she goes through limbo to somewhere else that she ends up, she doesn't lose time, because that's kind of a tragic part of Ilyana, is that when her power manifested at a very young age, younger than most mutants, because most mutants, their powers manifest around age 13, around the time of puberty, 13, 14, somewhere around there. Hers manifested apparently at age like 7. So she goes to limbo at age 7 and she doesn't know how to get out. So she's stuck there for like 7 years. And there was this evil demon ruler of limbo named Belasco. And so he was kind of like using her as like his servant. Like she was like was kind of like this really bad father figure, sort of thing. Like, so she was raised by this demon named Belasco, and real not nice guy. But then she was able to defeat him as she got older and come back. So she came back to our world, or the X-Men's world, and 7 years had passed. So she aged 7 years, where to the X-Men, like almost no time had passed. So she lost 7 years in her world because she spent those 7 years in limbo. So Colossus knew her as a 7-year-old, then she disappears and comes back as a teenager for him, where no time had passed, if I remember her backstory correctly. So yeah, that is kind of a bit of the tragic story of Magik. If I got any of the story parts wrong, please feel free to correct me. Please feel free. Like I said, these are stories from like the 1980s, and I need to go back. I've actually started rereading New Mutants from the beginning because I never read the entire series in order. I just read the issues where I started collecting, and then I got back issues and read those whenever I got those back issues. So I read the entire series out of order. So I'm currently, thanks to this pandemic, going back and rereading them in order. So I've just started. I read the graphic novel, and I'm like 4 issues into the original New Mutants series from the 1980s, but this time now reading them in order. So it's kind of fun. It's a fun trip down memory lane, but now putting the memories in chronological order. And this eye is a little too far over to the side. I want to adjust that, I think. And we'll be getting to inks here really soon. Okay, how are we doing here? How's it fitting? So her costume, her bodysuit is black, but because of her teleportation disc that glows blue, she'll be a little bit lit from below. The light source is coming in many ways from below. So I want to leave room in the black of her bodysuit for some blue glow, because she's lit from below. See, again, 6 rhymes. You come for the art, but you didn't realize you're gonna get all these dope rhymes. It's a gift, really, is what it is. I'm not in control of it. It's more in control of me, and it happens when I least expect it. So because of that inconsistency, I really chose not to pursue a career in the rhyming industry, because I just can't control when those rhymes are going to happen. And I'm sure if I had, if I had someone to teach me, someone to mentor me, to show me how to harness the power of the rhyme, I might have more control of when those would kick in, and how to harness that power. I need like my own Professor X, but alas, such an option was not available. And this face is not working for me. Let's just Don't like where that nose is set either, so. Gonna try this one more time here. So let's address a question while I'm working on this. Hello, everyone. Am I going to use whiteout over the sword to cover the logo? I may. Either the sword will fall behind the logo or it will go over the logo. We'll see once we start getting to the inking stage which direction I want to go. I don't have a lot of whiteout. I'd probably have to use my gel pen to make that happen. So fortunately, most of the logo is white. So I just have to get past that pink and the black outline. So yeah, it is a possibility. I just, pardon me, need to make sure I can do it properly so it doesn't make a mess. I don't want to make a mess. All right, let's see if I can get these eyes positioned a little more better on this face. What did I draw to get better? Did I draw my own characters or characters that already existed and what else? Yes, I drew everything. Drawing as much as possible, as frequently as possible, I believe is how we get better. It's essentially just practicing, just drawing. Draw your own creations, draw your favorite characters, just keep drawing, keep putting pencil to paper. Because every drawing we do is a drop in the bucket, is a step on our art journey. So the more drawings we do, the better chance we have at moving forward. The fewer drawings we do, the less we're working on our skills, you know? So it's not like you get better if you only draw your own characters or if you only draw established popular characters. It's just drawing. Draw anything. Draw anything. Draw it all. That's what I did. I created my own characters and drew them. I drew my favorite Marvel and DC characters as well. It's just draw and drawing out just anything and everything, especially if you want to be a comic book artist, because a story could involve anything and everything, whether it be superheroes, supervillains, alien races, monsters, zombies, cars, spaceships, airplanes, helicopters, blenders, computer screens, cell phones, forks, knives, spoons, paper plates, plastic plates, glass plates, fine china plates. Anything that you can encounter in the real world could very well end up in a comic book story you have to draw. And you have to be able to draw it. If the writer writes a cafeteria scene, you have to be able to draw a buffet, those segmented trays, the types of food, maybe milk, those little individualized milk cartons like you get at school. You have to be able to draw all that sort of stuff. Now, it doesn't mean you have to remember how to draw all that stuff, because that's like impossible. Not impossible, but very difficult, and you don't really have to, because you can look at real life stuff and draw that. So if I have to draw a little milk carton because they fold out in a certain way, I will Google search that so that I can see the shapes it makes, because I can't remember it exactly in my head. I can remember it enough to make it passable, but at times I want to get more specific details. I'll just research it. Research a specific model of helicopter or jet or tank if I have to draw that, which I've had to do. I've had to draw a very specific military sub due to a writer's story, and I had to look that up because it's like, what makes that different from any other sub? And that was a lot of years ago, so I can't quite remember what the differences were, but I did take the step to try to get the sub as accurate to the writer's description as possible. So what to draw? Everything. All this, again, to say, draw anything and everything. Because if you're going to be a comic book artist, you're more than likely going to end up drawing that thing at some point in your career. And when I'm out places, I study my environment. If I'm at the dentist office, I study the dentist office because I never know if I might have to draw a dentist office someday. So it's not like I'm trying to commit that entire dental office to my memory. I'm just trying to get the vibe of the dentist office, some of the details, so that when I go and look up reference of dental offices, and like the dental chair, the tools, that light thing that they pull down in front of your face on that extendable arm, the X-ray zapper thing that they pull and put next to your face when they're taking X-rays of your teeth. I have an idea of what that is already cataloged in my mind, and I can now utilize that with what I'm seeing in any photo reference I might look up. So it all kind of works together. So I try to pay attention to anything at the checkout stand. How does the register fit with the gum rack display and the little conveyor belt thing and the scanner or the grocery bag section, the paper bag versus the plastic bag. I look at those things and I take note of them. Not that I'm trying to commit them fully to memory, but just to have an idea of the vibe, so that if I do have to draw it, I'm not completely starting from absolutely nothing in my brain. Because I got enough of absolutely nothing in my brain as it is. All right, I think we're getting close to inking time, gang. Thanks for being so patient. Add a little more detail to the sword. Trying to get her classic sword as much as possible. Trying to remember how it goes, and then also looking at, I have some Ilyana reference pulled up on my iPad, so I could get that classic late 80s costume details just right. I'm seeing several variations of her sword, so I'm trying to draw the one I remember. Apparently her sword took different forms throughout her time as the Dark Child. Trying to get this jaw and chin just right. Trying to capture that more teenage youthfulness rather than her current young adult youthfulness. A little more mature as a young adult now, but I really liked how Brett Blevins drew her back in the New Mutants. She was had a very rounded sort of face, kind of that heart. It's either a heart shape or a square face. I know that there's the oval shaped face, the heart shaped face, the square face, and one other. I think horse face might be one. That's the one I have, is the horse face. People are always saying, "Hey Todd, why the long face?" Saying, "Shut up, man." Dad jokes. But I do have a long face. And I'm okay with that. Oops. Sorry, did not mean to whack the microphone. Hopefully that wasn't too jarring of a sound for y'all. All right, so I think I'm ready to, I got enough to move into the inking stage. So I think I'm gonna do color holds with the inks. That means inking doing the line art with colors as well as the to complement the colors that I'm going to later color with, and there should be, hopefully there'll be enough time for colors. Like I said, we can go as long as we need for this live stream. So for her blonde hair and her skin tones, I'm going to ink with brown. This kind of gives it kind of an animated look. See if we can catch up with some questions here. Sorry I can't respond to everyone's question. How many characters have I drawn in my career along with my own characters? It's almost incalculable. Calculable? Incalcula. How do you say it? You can't calculate it. Incalculable? I'm never going to try to say that word again. I sound like Michael Scott in episode 1 of season 1. It's really incalculable. Wasn't that episode 1 of season 1? I know he said it in season 1. Wow. I might have, because I love The Office and I watch it so much, I might know that word only as a Michael Scott word, and I've forgotten how to say the real word. It can't be calculated how many characters I've drawn. I mean, I've been doing this as a career for like 26 years. So how many characters is that? I mean, it's just so numerous. I wouldn't even know where to begin. Because how many characters appear in any given story I've drawn? And I've done a lot of team books, from Young Justice, Teen Titans, New Men, Wild Guard, my own creator-owned book. Oh my gosh. And even in solo character books like Nightcrawler, the X-Men still appeared in that, so I'm drawing many X-Men, as well as Jean Grey's school students. So, yeah. How many characters? I couldn't even begin to say. Fun question, though. Let's see. Do I have a favorite monster? I do have some. I have some favorite monsters. Not specifically one favorite monster. Now, my favorites are probably going to be not what you would maybe expect. But when I think monster, I think of some of my favorites. Bear with me now. Bear with me. Cookie Monster. Cookie Monster is hilarious. Don't believe me? Search Cookie Monster John Oliver on YouTube and watch those clips. Don't mean to oversell it, but my wife and I really enjoy those. So Cookie Monster, one of my favorite monsters. Chewbacca. I know he's an alien race, but when I was a little kid, to me, he was a monster. Loved him. Still one of my favorite monsters. The Thing from Fantastic Four. Technically a monster. I know he's a superhero, but he always thought of himself as being a monster. So to me, he's a monster. So The Thing. So right now, Cookie Monster, Chewbacca, and The Thing are some of my favorite monsters. So don't know if you were expecting a response to like that to your question, but I got to answer with my personal truth. I hope you can accept me for my personal monsters. And if you can't, that's fine. That's fine. I understand. We don't have to agree. We can still be cool though, right? But thanks for that question. Did you have that sketch cover put away? You just get it. I found these New Mutants sketch covers online, and being a big New Mutants fan, I purchased a few for times just like this. A specific comic shop had these made. They're exclusive to a comic shop. I forgot the name of the shop. Actually, I think their name is on the back here. Not back there. their logo is, but not their name. I think it's no. I was gonna say Legend, but that's not right. And whatever text is on that logo, it printed way too small. I'll show right there. I don't know if that's showing up on the camera. I'm watching here on YouTube as well, so I can see your questions and comments, and there's a delay in the video feed due to technology. So I can't. So whatever I see is not happening in real time. Yep, there it is. It's finally caught up to me, and it's not. Oh no, wait, I'm reading there. There we go. There, I'm trying to show it. So yeah, kind of got close to showing it, but anyhow. You usually search New Mutants 98 sketch cover. I'm sure if they're still selling them, you can get some. Also, I look on eBay for sketch covers because my comic shop doesn't always get every sketch cover that comes out. Or if they do, they're sold out by the time I get to the shop. So if I didn't say it before, this is a brown micron. Pigma micron multiliner pen. To do color hold inks. That's the term we use in the comic book industry, because I draw in black and white. But when my colorist, Rochelle, if she wants to make something like fire look more fiery, she'll turn my black line art of the flames into like a dark orange, and it gives it that more fiery sort of look. It's really cool. Same thing with ice. She can make my black lines that I've drawn of the ice into blue lines, or a laser. You know, she can make them red lines. So if it's or like a Cyclops' optic blast, which is more of a concussion force rather than a laser. But you know what I mean. So I'm using a dark red here for her red jacket. So it gives it kind of an animated look, animation look if I didn't say that before. Do I have any tips on finding your drawing style? I do. First, we need to address what is our style. What is style to begin with? And I would say oftentimes style is our preference. The way we like things, the way we like to dress, the music we like to listen to, the art we like to see. And I know my style is based on the art I like to see. And a lot of artists, I'd say almost every comic book artist is influenced by their favorite artist at one point or another in the pursuit of their career, of their art skills. So that's a factor in finding our style, is the inspiration we find from our favorite artists. Another part is our study and our training. That changes the way we think, and our skills grow because of the work we put into studying and practicing. So that's going to affect our style big time. Over the course of our life, I think our style evolves based on the things we learn and the more we grow in our skills. It's not like you find your one style and you stay there. I don't believe that happens. I rarely do I see that happen. I see evolutions, even if they're micro evolutions. I think I see people's styles evolve over time. And you can do this with any artist. Look at art from the beginning of the career and then every 5 years, and you'll see a progression of evolution. Some may be very obvious and drastic, some might be very minimal, but you'll notice there are some changes. Did this... Right. What's going on here? Are we still streaming? My phone just went weird. Yeah, okay, it looks like we're still streaming. I've lost the video here on my stream. That's really strange. But yeah, we'll keep going. Hopefully, looks like my OBS is still streaming. So just want to make sure this didn't didn't end. Okay. Well, I'm going to keep working like we are still streaming. If you have a question, actually, yep, okay, still good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Aaron. So, yeah, I lost the video feed here on my phone where I was kind of watching along. Very, very strange. In fact, maybe I'll sign out of this and okay, there we go. Now I've got the video back. I just want to make sure I can see where the art is to keep it in camera frame. Just got scared. I thought, oh no, don't tell me something happened where the video blinked out and somehow it got forced into something ended the live stream. Because that would stink if I'm sitting here drawing thinking I'm streaming and there's nothing going on, because for everyone else the stream had ended mysteriously. So we were talking about the styles. So those are some of the factors that go into how a style, I think, develops. But here's the thing. I don't personally believe we have to try too hard to find our style. I think our style finds us. I think if we focus on drawing to the best of our ability, to seek to draw figure work, poses, lighting, dynamic movement, backgrounds, objects we have to draw, like I mentioned before, like cars and animals and furniture and everything else in between. If we focus on trying to do that to the best of our ability, our style, I think, bubbles up onto the page. I think oftentimes when we try so hard to find our style, it stops us from actually growing in our skills, because we're so focused on, I gotta have this super awesome style like Jim Lee or David Finch or J. Scott Campbell. It's like if we focus so hard on that, it's like trying to drive with a parking brake on. It's like you're moving forward, but something doesn't feel right. Now, I'm only speaking from my perspective. Your mileage may vary. But if you find yourself so frustrated you can't find your style, relax. Ease up, just draw. Draw for the sheer enjoyment of it as much as possible, and see what develops. Because I think that's when you'll start to see your style come to be. Now, sometimes we have to focus on our style, and it's like, okay, I'm making these choices and how I make my lines and shapes. That's okay. But when it's like, I'm looking at Jim Lee and I'm trying to find my style. I'm looking at J. Scott Campbell and I'm trying to find my style. I think that might not always be the best road to find our style, because we're just focusing on Jim Lee or J. Scott Campbell or David Finch. So that's when we end up being a clone of another artist. And we don't want to be a clone of another artist, because then it's like, well, we already have Jim Lee and J. Scott Campbell and David Finch. And it's those guys. And also amazing female artists as well. So it's okay to be inspired by them, because I know I find their work to be inspirational, but I don't want to be, but you want people to be able to look at your art and know it's your art. It's your signature style. And it's okay if they're your springboard, but if they're your only thing, then it might be difficult to break past being a clone of somebody else. I'm definitely, fully admit, I'm a big Arthur Adams fan. Definitely has influenced my style. But so I have other artists, and through my work and practice, my style has become its own. People can see the Arthur Adams flavor. It's like when you have a dish, it's like, I think I'm tasting a little bit of, is that cumin? It's kind of like that. It's like, oh, I see a little bit of Arthur Adams in your style. I think maybe a little Rick Leonardi, maybe a dash of Mike Ringo. And it's like, oh yeah, well, very good. That's correct. But you don't look at it and it's like, wait, which one's Arthur Adams and which one's Todd Nauck? I don't think people really struggle in that way. Necessarily, because one, Arthur Adams is Arthur Adams, and he's like way up here, way. You can't. My hand's just like out of camera frame because he's way up there, and I'm not near that yet. I don't know if I'll ever be near that, but I'm going to try to be me. I'm going to try to be me and do the best work that I can do, and just let it take its own evolution. And it's been a far more enjoyable ride when I stopped trying to be like everyone else. Wibbly wobbly answer. It's where I thrive, in the wibbly wobbly, but hopefully that helps you at least helps give you some things to think about as you work on your art and hopefully try to find your style, or hopefully your style, like I said, hopefully your style finds you. That's the way I want to try to phrase that. All right, I'm going to put the dark red here to the side for a sec. I'm going to switch over to black and start working on some of the black parts of her costume. I'll leave some black parts of the costume open for color to account for the lighting. Maybe use some shades of neutral gray as well as maybe some shades of blue from the teleportation disc. So I'm going to just click, put little X's there. I said click, thinking drawing digitally. I'm going to mark in some X's there to know that's where I'm going to fill in black in a little bit. Yeah, I'm going to try pushing in a little closer here. Where's my OBS? I'm going to try pushing in a little closer. You can see some more of the details as I ink. Hopefully I won't bump the camera too much as I go, but this will hopefully let you see some of the details of the face and some of the finer details of the art. Now that we're at this stage. Got this little black mask on. Let's see. What would Spider-Man be like if he had never heard with if he had not heard with great power comes, if he heard with no power comes no responsibility, what do I think would happen to him? Well, I don't know. So if he had the concept that if you had no power, you'd have no responsibility, I don't know how much that would affect him, because at that point he had power. He had his spider powers that allowed him to do amazing things. So he would have power. Probably, oh, I don't know. That's an interesting concept. You're kind of breaking my mind. That's a very deep question. Yeah, that would take actually some thought. I thought you were saying if he had not heard the Uncle Ben advice, with great power comes great responsibility. If he had never heard that, what would he have become? So at first I thought that's what you were saying. So, but with no power comes no responsibility is an interesting concept. Yeah, that's interesting. I'd have to think about that one a lot before I could actually answer that one. Very, very interesting question. Absolutely. Start working on these hands here, holding on to her soul sword. Make sure I'm still in camera frame here. I know I'm going to have to shift once I move to the lower part. Then these fingers around the handle of the sword. I'm thinking of the light coming from below, or at least the one light source is the blue coming from below, is what I'm saying here. Like the tops of these fingers here is where I'll be filling in black a little later on. Yeah, this other hand here, make sure got those fingers as best I can. Since her costume is such a black, if I like a deep black, that if I don't create some delineation for color, it'd be a lot of black silhouettes. So much so, which could look really cool. Don't get me wrong, could look really cool, but we'd lose some of the details of her fingers. It'd just be kind of a black rock. That's not to say that that would not look cool. I think it could look very cool. That's not what I want to do in this illustration here. Back to the red to start working on this one sleeve a bit. At what age did I go to my first convention to show my portfolio? Yes, great question. I was 18 years old. I had just graduated high school. And my buddy, Chris, and I, who was one of my few comic book collecting friends back in high school. I had two, Trey and Chris. And so Chris said, hey, Todd, you know, there's a comic book convention in Dallas. Let's go. I'm like, why have I never thought to go? I was living in a small town at that time. Like, why have I not ever thought about going to an actual comic book convention till now? So we made plans. It was the day after Thanksgiving. So that Friday morning, we packed up and drove out to Dallas and started showing my portfolio. And it was quite a learning experience, I tell you what. Had a lot of fun, though. Had a lot of fun. Dallas Fantasy Fair was the name of the convention I went to back at that time. That was November 1989. Let's see, where's my circle template? I might use an ellipse template for her belt buckle here. Going with ellipse because it's kind of a little bit like an angle here. That's not my brown. Where's my brown? Because the X is the buckle is a yellow, so I'm going to use brown to convey the yellow. Just like that, and then I'll put a black X inside momentarily. Still in screen? Yeah, still in screen. Finish off the belt there. How are we doing on charge? Oh, it's getting a little low. Let me plug back in for some charge. The old tablet. Let's see, go back to my black Micron. Put some more on her bodysuit. I got the foreshortening of her leg here. Be very careful how I build these shapes. Hello everyone, welcome. What do I consider too old to get into the field as an artist? I'm assuming you're talking comics, since that's the field I work in and the field I know. Let's see. Need to slide this up a little bit. Make sure we're still on screen. What age? You know, I don't know if there is an age that is too old to break in. I think if someone has the skills and the abilities, and if the editor sees something that they like, then I think a person can break in at whatever age they're at. So I would not be one to say, if you're over this age, then you can't do it. I don't know if that's necessarily the way I would think about that. Now, if you have not been working on your skills as a comic book artist, it is more difficult the older we get, for a number of reasons. I think one of the biggest ones being time. When we're older, oftentimes many of us have families. We're married, maybe have kids, have a full-time job, so we have less time to put towards honing our craft. So that makes it more difficult. You don't have the 8 to 12 hours that you can spend drawing. Like when I was younger, I was going to art school, doing my art school projects, working a part-time job, plus working on my comic book stuff, because my school did not teach anything about comic books. And that I spent so much time drawing, and after art school, so much time drawing to try to break into the industry. So but I was young. I had the time to devote to that. Didn't have much of a social life, like almost very little to none at all. So that can be a hindrance to older artists who want to try to break into the industry if they're starting when they're like in their mid-30s. Not to say it's impossible, but there might be some difficult hurdles to get over to find the time to devote to it because of other responsibilities, as opposed to when we're younger. But that's not like the rule or the 100% the way it is. I think it varies from person to person. So I think if anyone, no matter what their age, has the time and resource to put into the craft, to study it, to train, to get good enough to get hired, then more power to you. Go for it and enjoy the process. So I hope that answers your question. Sorry, I keep bumping the mic there. Hopefully that's not causing an unpleasant sound. I answered your question. Oh, cool. Thanks for letting me know that I was able to give you hopefully it's an answer that helps you out. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of just try, have fun. Whether you make it your career or you just do it for the sheer fun of it, fan art is valid to me. I do fan art all the time. Essentially what I'm doing right now is fan art. So whether you get paid for it as your career, or you do it for fan art, or do it as a little bit of a side hustle, that's fine. Just do your art. If you design t-shirts or logos, or do an album cover for a friend, for their indie band, it's all good. Just have fun creating, and see where the journey takes you from there. So some of us get to do it for a career, some of us don't. Some of us get to play for the NFL or the NBA or the MLB, and some of us get to watch from our couches. I'll never get to play for the NFL. One, I am too old for that job. And two, even when I was younger and could do it, I couldn't do it. I would be killed. They would have killed me. I would have died. I would have died on the field. If you ever saw the movie Lucas? That would have been me. I would have been Lucas. So, but doesn't mean I don't enjoy football. I love it. I love to watch sports. The Olympics. I love the Olympics. I'll never be an Olympian. But I love the competition. I love seeing people, you know, Winter Olympics. I love watching people, you know, shred it on the half pipe or the downhill. I have no plans of ever trying to strap planks onto my feet and go down a snowy hill very fast. No plans on doing that. Not worth it to me. But I sure like watching people do it. And that's okay. But you know, some people throw around a football or play a pickup game of basketball, you know, some hoops, or are in a softball league, a work softball league, because it's fun. They might not get to play for the pros, but they can still play and enjoy themselves. And some people watch and enjoy themselves. And some people do it for a living and enjoy themselves. So, same with art. I wouldn't expect everyone here watching my live stream to be artists or looking to pursue a career in art, though I know many of you are, and I wish you all the best in that. But some of you just like comic book art. Some of you like to watch art being created, and I appreciate that. I'm so glad you're here, and I hope you're enjoying yourself, because I know I am. And this is all okay. I think it's all valid. Whether you're here because you want to learn, or you're here because you just want to watch me create something, it's good. It's good. Let's see, let's get the French curve here. I'm going to ink that X. Actually, I want to adjust that X. Get it a little centered a little more correctly on the belt. Which direction do I want to go here? I think this is it. Thank you, French curve. We'll fill all this X in later, leaving a little bit open here at the bottom of the X for the effect I plan to do in a little bit. Let's see, let's use black for the handle of her sword. So sorry, I keep whacking my microphone thingy. Like I said, this live stream setup is a work in progress, learning as I go, which is how I spend most of my life, learning as I go. Buttons over here on this side of her lapel. All right, let's see. I'm going to have to deal with this sword here in a moment. I'm going to use some blue for this sword, for soul sword. Okay, what if you like a style that you're not good at, but you are good out of a style that you don't necessarily like that much? Interesting question. Let's see, was it Jim Lee that said this in one of those Stan Lee comic book greats videos? I think I heard it somewhere in a video like that. I think it might have been Jim Lee. Don't hold me to that. Maybe he didn't say it. I heard this long ago when I was trying to break in. And some pro, whether it be Jim Lee or someone else, said, there are people out there that said, well, I can draw in a Jack Kirby style and a Bruce Timm style, and who was it at that time? He was saying like a John Byrne style. And maybe for artist names that are a little more common today, as someone would say, I can draw in a Jim Lee style, we'll say Bruce Timm style, because that, it's that animated style, or an Alex Ross painterly style. I can work in any of those three styles, and maybe there's some they're better at than others. Maybe they like some, but don't like one of the styles, but don't. Kind of in the situation you're in. Here's the thing. If you show, I think it was Todd McFarlane now that I think about it. It was one of those Stan Lee comic book greats videos, though, I know that. And if you show that you can work in these different styles, but you might not like drawing in all those different styles, and you get hired to draw in the style you like the least, you might get stuck being known for that style. So if you're not good at a certain style, keep practicing and get good at it. If that's the style you like to do best, focus on that to where you can get even better at it. Does that make sense? Because that's the way, if you get hired professionally, that's kind of going to be the style you're known for. You might be able to evolve out of that style, but it might be difficult. Kind of like being pigeonholed. Like if an actor does only one type of role, they only get known for doing that role, and that's all they get cast for. So you want to be careful how you navigate that. And I'd say if you like drawing in a certain way better, then keep working at that, because that will give you the joy and enjoyment and drive to continue to pursue your skills, rather than trying to draw in a way that you don't like as much. Draw what you like, because that's how you're going to spend your days. Because if you're drawing in a way you don't like, then then going to work, I couldn't imagine being all that much fun. It's like doing a job like you don't like. It's like, you know what I mean? So if you're not good at that, what you like, keep working at it, because if you like it, you're going to end up getting better at it just by the sheer work, study, and practice that you're going to put into it, if that makes sense. All right, I'm going to use my triangle here, work on this sword, get a nice straight blade. I got to figure out, do I want it to go over the M in Mutants or fall behind the M in Mutants? It's in a place where we can cover up part of that M. Well, actually, cover up a lot of that M. I'd have to change the energy signature a bit, because I don't have enough whiteout to I want to try to avoid making such an ugly mess. So, because if I use too much whiteout and then with all the color, it wouldn't work for the vision that I do have. I want to try to use as little whiteout in there as possible, if any at all. I might just go with putting the blade behind it, just to keep it clean, keep that logo clean. We'll still get the sense of the blade behind it. So while I think on that, I'm going to ink some other parts, like her legs here. Oops, am I still on camera there? Sorry, it was a little bit out of camera shot. I know we're pushed in here, so I have to be very mindful. Let me move this up here to up there. A little tape to let me know what my screenshot is. Since I pushed in, that's changed what is visible on screen. To see a little bit of this one foot as she's fading into her teleportation disc. A little bit of an ankle there. A little bit of black for that one flat. Okay, let's go ahead and work on her eyes here a little bit. Still trying to see what I want to decide for that sword. Actually, now that I think about it, I have a couple of options I can do. Let's see, I want the 005 for crisp, clean eyelashes. Am I in the right screen? Yeah. Okay. And let's see, I want to get a fine point brown. For her nostrils. Have a fine point blue. For her iris and pupils. I have a fine point pink for her lips. All right. So that's the inks we have so far. So what we're going to do here, gang, we've been going for quite a while. We're going to keep this live stream going. We're not going to stop yet. This is just, we're just hanging out drawing here. But you know what? I need to take a little bathroom break. You might need to as well. So we're going to just take maybe a minute here. So I'm going to step away. I'm coming right back, okay? You can keep the chat going. If anyone shows up and asks what's going on, you can let them know it's time for a little bathroom break. So I'll be right back. All right, thanks, gang. Thank you for that. There's a New Mutants movie panel going on right now? on the Comic-Con site? That's cool. I had no idea they were doing that panel when I decided to draw Ilyana here. That's fun. Alright, so I'm still thinking about that sword. Gosh, that sword's really... I'm just trying to make a decision here on which way to go. You know what? I really like the New Mutants logo. So I think I'm going to put the sword behind the logo is my ultimate decision. Where did I go? I went to have a little comfort stop, if you will. Needed a little bathroom break. I drink a lot of caffeine today. So I was at a point there where I couldn't wait any longer. I had to take a little break. Gotta tell you, it was worth it. But enough about that. We're not here to talk about that. Gonna put the energy coalescing around her sword, her soul sword. Okay, and then let's see, we have her teleportation disc here at the bottom. I'm using my French curve, kind of give a sense of the disc shape. Flip this around. I'm doing a nice little broken line here. Just like that. Now let's see. Am I on screen the correct way? There we go. I think what I want to do is use my T-square and my triangle. Gotta get my T-square here. Ah. Try not to bump everything. My apologies. There we go. All right. You've stayed the full stream so far. Well, I appreciate that. Thanks for hanging with me. Thanks to all who have been here either the entire time or if it's just a portion of a time. Glad you're here. So I'm going to pull. Just put these vertical lines going up like this. In the foreground too. kind of create this movement power effect. So see, with the T-square, I can just set my triangle on top of it and then just slide the triangle across. And then just drop the line, slide, drop the line, slide, drop the line, slide, drop the line, slide, drop the line, slide. Just that repetition, and making some lines longer and some lines shorter, and kind of a varied sequence or pattern. Don't want them to be all the same space or same length and too repetitive. There's a little bit of a repetition, but not consistently repetitive. Want to vary how close and how far they are from each other, as well as how close and far each section is. Get the background done first, and then we'll switch over to the foreground. Just a little bit more here. Let's see, you're trying to choose between what to go into, what you like more, or what to draw more. You like comic book art and drawing for animation. You like them both. Well, it's good that you like them both. So whichever choice you make, you're going to be doing something you like. And you know, sometimes sometimes we have to kind of make a choice. Hopefully you get a chance to do both. If you like both, hopefully you get a chance to do both. There are some comic book creators out there that have worked in both. We've either worked in comics then went into animation, which I almost did, and a number of my Extreme Studio mates had done. And there are artists who worked in animation that then came over to comics. So so it is possible to get a chance to do both at one point in your career or another. So that's pretty cool. All right, let me put this T-square away. I'll just put it right over here for now. All right. Okay, so I think I'm at a stage here where I can not quite erase. Where's my red micron? Dark red micron, I should say. I want to put some wrinkles in her jacket near the shoulder. There we go. So I can start erasing certain parts where I think the ink is dry. So I'm using my kneaded art gum eraser. It's just this hunk of eraser clay. It's a good eraser to keep from making the line art fade. Sometimes people say their inks fade when they erase. Try using a kneaded art gum eraser. Hopefully you won't have that problem as much. As opposed to like a block eraser, a plastic eraser. So coming up next here, we got the Copic color. We're gonna see this. We're gonna see this piece all the way through to the end. This is hanging out at the alley table for the afternoon. This is what I do at the Comic-Con. Just drawing at my table, meeting people, hanging out for hours. Hours on end. Usually I do almost the full day on the con floor at my table, unless I have a panel or a signing I have to go to. You'll find me at my table talking and or sketching nonstop from the time the show opens around 9:30 a.m. till 7 a.m. 7 a.m. No, not that long. 7 p.m. That'd only give me an hour and a half to sleep if I drew or chatted and hung out till 7 a.m. the next morning. Nice thing is they kick you out of the exhibit hall when the hall closes that evening. So 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. When I'm at a convention that doesn't start, they don't open the doors till 10 a.m. Oh, that extra 30 minutes is glorious. It is so lovely. All right. Okay. Need to separate some of the lines here, or sections on her mask. So some of these spots these black spots will be filled in last. It just works better for me to fill them in last. Less chance of smudging or smearing if I don't fill in those black parts till very last. So that's why I do that. Just trying to minimize any potential damage or frustration. Not to say there's not always a risk of smudging or smearing, but if I can minimize it, that is ideal. Let's make sure we're in frame to start off with her skin and hair. Do I think drawing poses from a figure or action figure will help improve anatomy? It depends on the quality of the action figure. If it's like an action figure like this Iron Man here, the Marvel Legends, it's pretty decent, but it's not exact anatomy. The way these shoulders are built, it's not exactly anatomy. Now, it might help in the gesture of the figure, but it might not help you in knowing how the muscles change shape when they either extend or contract. So that's something to keep in mind. But action figures can be great if you need to try to find a certain pose. Then yeah, if I want to draw this pose, then I can pose them and I can look at them at the angle I want and I can see how those shapes all fit together. Then I utilize my knowledge of anatomy to then put that on top of what this is as a skeleton. This would be the skeleton, but it's not going to give me accurate anatomy, unfortunately. Because those muscles don't bend and they don't stretch and contract like real muscles do. So it's not 100% the best way to do anatomy. It can help if you know more of anatomy from the rules you have already learned. But it can help, I think, more so with coming up with poses and gestures. But even then, there's still some limitations. So that's kind of just like a springboard that you want to build upon with other knowledge that you've gained, if that makes sense. I wouldn't rely solely on a figure or action figure for your anatomy and gestures alone. It is one of many tools I think a person can use to help come up with poses and understanding of the structure of the character or the figure, if that makes sense. But I would not in any way say it's your only, should be your only source of study or reference. So I'm using some E01 to get started. Keeping in mind that there's going to be blue light coming up from above, or from underneath. Not from above, but from below, which is the opposite of above, in my opinion. So I'm trying to keep in mind light source coming from below. Little E00 there. Let's bring in the rosy. Little R20. What fell over there? This sounds like my travel watercolor palette fell off the credenza. Oops. Looks like I'll have some cleanup to do after this live stream. A little R11. Where's that E00 again? Actually, let's go E000. You just saw Magik in the New Mutants trailer with her soul sword? Awesome. I saw a brief little clip while scrolling through my Twitter feed a couple of days ago. That was more than I wanted to see. I'm not a big fan of watching trailers. I'm not against trailers. I'm not against other people watching trailers. I personally, if it's a movie I want to see, I don't like to watch the trailer because sometimes I think trailers give away too much. And if it's something I'm familiar with, like Avengers, Star Wars, New Mutants, then if I see too much of the trailer, I'll be able to fill in too many of the gaps, knowing what I know of those characters or of their stories. So I like to go in completely blind to any idea, completely unaware. And it is, I'm telling you, it's hard to do. It took a while to learn how to stop watching trailers. But once I kind of got into that mode, it made going to the movies so different to me. I feel like a kid when I go to see the movies because it's like everything is brand new. Just like when I saw Star Wars the first time, even though I did watch the commercials as a kid. I didn't remember the commercials. I go into the movie and everything's so enormous. I forgot everything and was just totally taken in by it. So now some E84, kind of a khaki color to start the blonde hair. So yeah, I prefer to avoid trailers. And I started this with The Force Awakens. I watched The Force Awakens trailer, and when they had the Chewie we're home bit, it just got me in the feels. It was such a powerful moment, and I thought, man, what if I had seen that in the context of the movie? If I didn't know that scene and saw it and it just slammed me in the movie, how much more powerful would that have been for me? So it was from then on I decided, you know what? For a movie like Star Wars or the Marvel movies, I'm already sold. I'm more than likely going to be there, especially if it's Star Wars and most all of the Marvel movies, at least the MCU movies. I'm going to be there. So the trailer doesn't need to advertise it to me, because I'm already sold. I know I'm going to go. And so once I started doing that from Force Awakens on, or after Force Awakens. Force Awakens was the last one that I watched the trailer of a movie I really wanted to see, and I'm telling you, it just changed my movie viewing experience. And still tempting. I gotta tell you, it's still tempting to want to watch certain trailers. I did watch the Wonder Woman 84 trailer, just because the soundtrack got me. That New Order's Blue Monday and that kind of harder edged sound really intrigued me, so I ended up watching it. Loved it, and it's like, oh man. So in that case, you know, I did choose to watch the trailer and enjoyed it, but you know, I did see that one little bit of Ilyana with her soul sword on Twitter there, kind of snuck up on me. So I wasn't like mad or anything, or frustrated or disappointed. I was actually like, oh dude, that looks awesome. Stop looking. I want more surprise for when I go see the movie. So or when I live stream the movie. I don't know if that movie's going to open in theaters. Are any movies going to open in theaters this year? Even if they do, I think I'd wait to watch it in live stream. Watch it on streaming. Not live stream, sorry. I'm doing a live stream. Watch it streaming just for safety's sake. Just me personally. So all this to say, Liliana was awesome with her soul sword. That's cool to hear. That's cool to hear. I do hope that people know that when I say I prefer not to watch trailers, I'm not passing judgment on anyone. Know that there is zero judgment passed on anyone. I'm just stating my personal preference. Just a lot of people know that about me, but not everyone does. So I hope you know I'm not passing judgment whatsoever. Please know that. Totally in support of you, the trailer watchers. No judgment at all. I want to make sure that's clear. Blue Monday, yes. Did I say the wrong name for that New Order song? I hope I said Blue Monday. Did I say a different song? If I said the wrong song, what song did I say? I thought I said Blue Monday. Sometimes when I'm doing my art here, I'm so focused on the art, my brain's working in so many different places. Sometimes I say the wrong things, like I did in this morning's live stream when I got my Eurythmics lyrics wrong for Sweet Dreams. I was saying Strange Dreams. I knew something didn't sound right. I knew something sounded strange. And someone was able to correct me. How did I become so good at coloring? Well, 1, thank you. 2, practice. Just trial and error and practice. Just experimenting with the markers, learning as I went, and developed these Copic skills. It's kind of as simple as that. I'm still learning new things. Still learn new tricks, new techniques. These are Copic markers, absolutely. Do I prefer these? They're the only ones I really know. I do have a set of Arteza markers that Arteza sent to me, and they're cool. They're a decent marker for a much lower price, so if you can't afford Copics, Arteza is something to consider. As an alternative, I mean, they're like maybe a 1/6 of the price of Copic markers, so far more affordable. But the blending quality, they don't have a brush tip yet, so it's hard for me to judge them to Copic markers because these have a brush tip. The ones they sent me don't have a brush tip, so I can't blend them in the same way. So there is a level of blendability, but I'm used to the brush marker. And they told me, the people at Arteza said that they are working on a brush marker. I don't know if they've released a brush marker since. If they had, I'd like to try that to see how does their brush, because the brush allows blendability in a far different way than just a regular, like the broad tip. So, so it's hard for me to judge, but from what I used of the Arteza, it's like, this is a brand of, if I could not afford Copics, I'd probably go with something like an Arteza. I think a step up from that might be Touch. I know there are some pros that use Touch markers. I've used I've gotten a couple of their sample markers, but I haven't been able to really try out their full line of markers. So it's hard for me to really speak to those, but I know there are pros out there that use Touch. So, hey, if it's good enough for them, that'd probably be a brand I would consider. I don't know what their price point is, but I started building a Copic collection back in 2009, bit by bit. So now I'm so fully immersed in Copic, to change course now would be too expensive for me. Actually, I'm so pot committed to this. You know, like when you're playing poker and you've already bet so many chips into the hand that you can't fold your hand. You're committed to the pot of poker chips. It's kind of the way I am with the Copic right now. But who knows? Who knows? Maybe someday I'll change brands. Let's see. Next up, let's work on the reds. The red of her jacket and belt. I'm going to start with a kind of a darker red, an R56, and go from there. Okay, I did have the song right. Blue Monday, you were raising your hands in celebration of it. Gotcha. Thank you for clarifying. You know, I say a lot of words. Sometimes I don't remember everything I say, so I want to make sure I didn't say the wrong thing or miscommunicate anything. So thank you so much for the clarification. So since we're going to have a lot of the light coming from below, from her teleportation disc, I'm putting the darker shades on the upper parts of things. So most of my videos, you see me putting them at the lower parts or the under parts of characters. This time I'm flipping the script, y'all. Putting the darker closer to the top of things, because it's the light source is coming from below. So like for her forearm there, where usually the light's coming from above, I'd put the darker colors here. Since where the light's coming from below, I think, where is the light going to hit as it moves? Let me cap this so I don't accidentally put a mark I don't want. So the light's coming up. So the light's going to hit here. I've already established here on the legs, these parts will be black, abdomen black. So the under parts here of her thigh and the shin here, lower part of her, like around the knee, that's where the light is hitting. And there's a little bit of light coming from the sword here, so I left a little open area here for where the energy from her sword is kind of lighting her up a little bit. So so these are the things we got to think about consistently, making sure I'm still in screen. Still can put some dark on the inside of her sleeve, because no matter where the light source is, it's probably going to be difficult for light to get up in there. On the inside of her belt. Just a little bit of darker red there to start with, then more traditional red, my R27. You guys know I love my R27s. It's my traditional shade of red. Use it for my Spideys, Deadpools, Superman capes, and Flash costumes. Any traditional red of a superhero, this is the shade I'm going to probably defer to first. Until I discover other shades of Copic red that I might end up liking better, which is always a possibility. But for now, that day has not come. Do you have any new questions here? Is there a particular Copic color set I like to use for my character drawing? No, I never bought any of the sets. I started with some grays. I bought the even-numbered cool grays and the even-numbered warm grays to start doing grayscale illustrations. And then from there, I started to build my Copic color, moving away from... Actually, I then bought the odd-number grays, so I could have the full complement of gray markers, but I bought those individually, not as their gray color sets. I then, what did I do? I then started buying actual colors that I wanted. Started buying some reds and blues and yellows and greens and purples, and started small, and just anytime I had the disposable cash, I would, or I was at the art supply store, I would just slowly build my Copic collection. So that's how I did it. I never bought any one specific set, though. Not against it, just never did. Never really had that much money at that time, all those years ago, to just kind of drop, $300 in one sitting, $500 in one sitting to buy that big of a set at that time. It was better for me to just kind of build my collection slowly, just for where I was at that time financially. It just made more sense to buy what I could afford. Probably could have waited and bought a set, but I just wanted to make sure I had the colors that I wanted. I didn't feel that a set might be able to give me all the colors that I would want or utilize in any given illustration. So I'd go to the art supply store, and they have the Copic, the wall of Copic markers. And they have little scratch pieces of paper, so I could test out each color. before buying to see, oh, is this the shade I want? Is it not? So that really helped me inform my decision and my Copic marker collection, my personal set of Copic markers that I built based on my preferences. So you can go either way. I mean, but I cannot recommend a set because I never bought a set. So I don't know which colors come in those sets. So good question. Unfortunately, not one I can answer based on my experience solely. All right, so leaving some open areas here for white and possibly a little bit of blue of the lighting of the teleportation disc. Let's color her lips. Need to put some color in those lips. I'm gonna start with a pink, a little RV. What was it? RV32. RV32. Are we in frame? Oh, there we go. And the little tiny highlight on her lip, putting it at the very bottom of her lip because the light, again, coming up. A little bit of darker in here. What was that? The RV95. Those use a little R11 to kind of blend those colors all together. Same color I used on her nose. Do a little second layer there on her nose. Second coat, I should say. Second coat. What red do I typically use for characters like Spider-Man or Flash? The R27. R27 and R24. The same ones I used here on Magik. Same ones I use for my Spider-Mans, my Flashes. And you can see what colors I used in the sketch cards I did yesterday on my live stream, my preview night San Diego Comic-Con live stream. I drew both Spider-Man, Spider-Ham, and the Flash. So use the same reds for all three of those. What era is Magik from? Well, she was first introduced, I believe, in the early 1980s. Maybe the very late 70s. I'm not sure. I wasn't reading comic books at that time. But I know for sure she was there in the early 80s. She started as Kitty Pryde's best friend, and then she joined the New Mutants. So she was introduced in the X-Men comics and then moved over to the New Mutants title as a regular cast member. So let's put some blue in her eyes. So I'm going to start with some B14. And then not a lot of space there, so I'm going to go straight to the B01. Blend into that darker B14 to kind of create a nice little pool of blue. Pool of Blue was the name of the New Wave cover band when I was in high school. The one I was in when I was in high school, which I wasn't in. Dad jokes. Let's see. Next up, I think we're kind of heading towards the grays of her costume, and then we have her soul sword as well. Right now I want to work on the costume. So I'm going to start with some neutral 5, I think. So this gray is going to come pulling from the black of her uniform. Leave maybe just a little bit for some blue up here, but her neck and shoulders are further away from the teleportation disc, so it's going to have less of the blue, more as we move towards the ground, towards the disc. Again, these are types of things we have to think about when we're doing our illustrations as a comic book professional. What's happening in the world and the environment the character is in? How do I want to translate that? And it's going to vary from time to time depending on the character, the lighting, the situation. It's not always cut and dry the same way every single time. We have to allow for variation, and how do we want to handle that. So this whole part over here will be filled in black. So that I'm imagining that black then translating over as we move towards the inner thigh there. Oops, hopefully that was mostly on screen. Towards the blue. And the same thing with the inner thigh of this leg. Once we fill in these blacks in her costume, it's really going to come together. It'll be really nice. A lot of the weight will then kick in. So we kind of have to suspend that perception for the moment. And then here on the calf. Pulling towards that light source. Now is indeed, let's see, a little bit of a lighter neutral gray for the handle of the sword. At least do that. Now we need to want to light her sword next. So I want to grab my shades of light blue. B01, B00, B000, and I have a B000 I just bought. So I've got all my low tier Bs. Just need the B, yeah, B01, B00, B000, B000. This is B000 is so light, so light. So I'm going to work from dark to light. So I'm going to start with a B01. Definitely going to want this for the outermost portions of the energy effect. Because it's like with a flame, the closer you get to the hottest part of the flame, the lighter the color. It goes from orange to yellow to blue to white, I believe is how that goes. So when you can see the white of a flame, that's the hottest part of the flame. So I'm going to go from blue to lighter blue to essentially white. Any part that's white is the most concentrated part of the energy. So it's just kind of putting this blue around the outer perimeter, you know, kind of running it right along the line art I've established. How am I doing being on screen? Not that great. Not that great. Sorry about that, gang. That's a challenge, to be pushed in enough to where you can get a better look at the detail, but then keeping things on screen. Because what I'm watching along here with y'all is seconds behind. I think there's like a 3 to 5 second delay for the video. So I'm actually, what you see online, I think I'm like mere seconds ahead of y'all in the future. And I gotta tell you, the future, not so bad, not so bad. I'm gonna use this blue here to pull up from the energy effect of her teleportation disc. Kind of going a little bit darker blue at the base, and then it's kind of fading up. Kind of taking a creative liberty here. Really helps the portal itself kind of frames it in a way. It'll make the white and the lighter colors, I think, stand out a bit more against the darker shade of blue. Nope, I see a place where I needed to drop some of that gray right there in her flap, the heel of her shoe. So where's that? Neutral gray 5, I believe, is what I was using. Just a little teeny tiny bit right there. So teeny, so tiny. Did I ever read Tomb of Dracula? I did not. I did not. Or at least I have not yet. I think they have some issues of that on the Marvel Universe app. I should look into that at some point. I think that book was pretty popular at Marvel in the 1970s, I think. Well before I started reading comics. But I'm familiar with the title. I've heard that title before. I just have not read that title. Now a little B00. Blending this around here, just kind of making this up as I go along. And connecting these lined areas. Just kind of feathering it upwards. Let's see. For the sword, I'm going to go B000. Pull this back into frame. Right down here. Is that in frame enough? Yeah, I think so. Put this in the sword hilt. I'm going to come in with some grays as well to make the sword hilt look more silvery. Eventually. Use some lighter shade of light blue in the center of these energy trails. A little more blue on the bottom side of the sword blade. Grab a little cool gray. We'll start cool gray 0. And go over the hilt of the blade a little bit with this to kind of give it a little bit of a bluish silver. Maybe pull a little bit of this in the bottom side of the blade just to kind of give it a silvery effect. And then it's lit up by the energy, so it's kind of like this dance between the two colors. All right. So I'm trying to figure out what do I do here kind of in the background. If anything, or do I leave it as is? I'm curious. I want to try a little trick. Don't have a really big circle template, so in lieu of a big circle template, I use a DVD. Since I watch most of my shows streaming. Have you seen Psych yet? It's on Amazon Prime as well as the Peacock streaming app. Give it a watch. If you haven't watched it yet, it's so fun. It's funny. I use them as my large circle templates. Please don't tell the cast of Psych I do this. And I only use their DVDs because they're the easier ones to get to. Because my Impractical Jokers and Kids in the Hall DVDs actually have a box that I have to take them out of, and then out of the jewel case. And always put your hand on the text side, not the actual DVD side, because you don't want to risk scratching up your DVD. So as you see here, I've put a little circle behind her. Or at least I hope you can see that. And you know, I kind of like that. It kind of plays to her circular patterns of her power. So I'm wondering if I should try doing a dark to light fade. Like it's darker up top and then fades down to her teleportation disc. What are y'all thinking here? Psych is awesome. Yes, it is. Kids in the Hall fans coming in right on. Is there any reason I like to go dark to light with my Copic colors when I'm illustrating, as opposed to where you prefer to go from light to dark? I like to, it all depends on what I'm illustrating. Sometimes I do light to dark. Oftentimes I do dark to light because the lighter colors, when I go over those darker colors, is creating a more lush blending. So if I want a real nice blending, soft blending, working dark to light is the way I want to go. If I want harder cuts, then I'll work from light to dark, because those dark colors are going to leave a harder lined delineation between the dark and the light color. So so it all depends on the person's preference and style. So if that's the way you like to work, more power to you. Go for it, man. Go for it. And enjoy it. But yeah, it all depends on what I'm illustrating. Most of the times I am dark to light, but sometimes I will go light to dark, and you'll see videos on here where I am going from, I am illustrating with my colors from light to dark. So I'm doing a light erasing here, so I can barely see that circle I've created. Especially if I'm doing a fade, I want to go from dark to light because I want that fade to be a nice subtle gradation, not hard lines where it's like Neapolitan ice cream, you know, chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. Well, I guess vanilla's in the middle, but you know what I mean. Where it's like you see there's this section of color, this section like dark gray, medium gray, light blue. You know, I don't want it to be that stark of a delineation. I want it to be a nice subtle fade, really soft and blendy. So yeah, I am going to go with this circle here because I think having some sort of background element behind her will really kind of make her pop off the page just a little bit more, just a little bit. And doing a fade kind of gives a sense that the background is responding to the environment she's in, to some sort of degree. So I'm going to go with cool grays. I'm going to start with up top, I want to go fairly dark. I'm not using neutral grays because her costume is kind of neutral gray, so that would be too much neutral gray. I want something that kind of looks a little different. So I'm going to use the circle I've done and just kind of freehand it because it's broken up in chunks. I'm going to leave a white outline around her so that the background circle is separate from her. So I'm just very cautiously bringing this color right up to the line. And then leaving a halo. Am I on screen? Yeah. Leave a halo around all the line art. So this gray and all the other colors I'll use for the background do not touch. Do not touch any of the line work. And that's called a halo. And I try to maintain a consistent, let's try that line again, take two. I try to maintain a consistent halo width around the character and the elements, like the lightning or the energy effect coalescing around here off the sword. I try to maintain a consistent as possible halo width. And I just eyeball that. So I'm gonna just do the top half of this cool gray 7. We still have to fill in these blacks, so stick with me for that if you can. Get a little bit of gray up in there in between those chunks of hair. Okay. So I'm going to go from the cool gray 7 to the cool gray 5. Going odd numbers here. So I'm going to color over that darker color with this lighter color, thus making the inks blend, thus creating a nice, softer gradation from one color to the next. That's why I like to work. Here's an illustration of why I like to work light to dark. For this, if I want a nice soft gradation. For me, if I went from light to dark, it's going to be more challenging to get that dark to blend smoothly with the light. It's just it just doesn't really happen for me as fluidly as working from dark to light. But that's just me. That's just me. Okay, I'm going to turn it here. Actually, I'm going to put this DVD over here. I'll put that away later. Just want to make sure I get the right angle to hit that guideline I penciled in. Okay. Now I'm going to go from the cool gray 5. Throat's getting a little parched. Excuse me. I've been doing a lot of talking. A lot of talking. Cool gray to 5 to a cool gray 3. Cool gray 3. It's getting lighter and lighter as we move towards that disc. Make sure I'm still on screen. So sorry, gang. Where are we at? Where are we at? Ah, there we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's some cool gray 3. And let's go. Oh, don't fall over. Stack of markers. Cool gray 1. I get the cool gray 1 here in the last chunk of circle. Last chunk of circle was the name of my garage band when I was back in high school. There we go. Okay. So once we get these blacks filled in, y'all, I'm telling you, it's all gonna come together. You might even hear that noise when it all happens. It's like, let's see. I want to put in some blue. The closer we are to the portal, I think we should have some blue reflecting into her, like so. The bottom part of her costume, and maybe even her legs are so lit by the portal that we do see some blue, even this very faint blue. In fact, I want to again bumping that microphone. I'll put a little bit of this into the portal. Very, very light shade. I'm at the B quadruple 0 right now, y'all. Kind of fading this down into there. that. I think that's too light of a shade for the pants. I'm going to add some B000. I'm just going to color over that gray and a little bit into the white that I've left open there to kind of create this gradation of, it'll be black to gray to blue. Is what I'm trying to do here. Black to gray to blue. Even down into her legs a little bit. That's what I like about the Copic markers, is the inks are made to blend. Where am I? Okay. So in that sense, they kind of work a little bit like watercolor. Just like that, through the shins there, the inner part, so close to the light source that it's creating. It's reflecting that blue onto her legs. Now let's see, here on her sleeves, maybe a little bit over near there. Maybe a little bit into these sleeves, this part of the sleeve, just a smidge. Doesn't have to be tons. Just a little bit. Tempted to add some to the hair. Not sure if I'm going to do that yet. A little bit here on the fingers. Forearm, a little bit right there. Maybe a little bit in the mask. Just a little bit as we move further away from the portal. Okay. Maybe a little bit here in the belt. If I do any in the hair, I'm going to go even lighter shade, maybe a little bit here towards the back part of the hair. Let's try that. Just kind of feathering it in very lightly. A bit in the face here, just barely. So barely there. Okay, I need to add some more traditional shadows. So I'll take that line again. A little bit of cool gray 1, like at the bridge of the nose here. And then around the eyes, a little bit here underneath the hair. A little bit here on the X logo. I hope that face was in camera frame. I was just doing the bridge of the nose there. A little bit here on the inside, under part of the hair. Let's go a little bit darker gray for the reds. The cool gray should work. Cool gray 3, I should say. Use a little bit of this blue in the eyelids. Up near the eyelids, I should say. Don't trust him, it's a dad joke. Well, the only dad joke I made recently was being in a garage band, so that was a dad joke, absolutely. I was not in a garage band. ever in my life. I was in marching band though, in high school. And concert band. Marching band in the fall, concert band in the spring. Okay, so I think we're pretty good with the color. You know what? I want to add a little blue to this this circle behind her here. Let's try the B triples. No, you know what? I'm going to start really light here. B quadruple 0. Man, whack the microphone again. So sorry. Got to figure out a different setup here to where I can keep from whacking the equipment as I draw. Just putting in some of this B quadruple 0. Maybe that fades up to the B triple 0. Cool. So let's take a break from that. I don't know if I need to add any more blues just yet. Now we're going to spot the blacks, people. We're going to put the black spots in her costume, and this is always fun for me because, you know, I'm used to seeing the art like this, but once I start putting in the blacks, it starts to become more real. What type of sword is she holding? She is holding her soul sword. This sword is the, how did Chris Claremont always write it? The focused manifestation of her soul. It's connected to her. It's a mystical blade that strikes against magic. So if she slashes you with her sword, most of the time, if she slashes you with a sword, it just passes right through you. But any magics that are on you, it could disrupt or release you from anything like that. So it really is used mostly, in many ways, against magic. If I remember those aspects of her soul sword correctly, this is used against it's things vulnerable to magic are affected by the soul sword, not physically. That's sometimes why we see her with two swords. One sword to attack for physical attacks, and then the soul sword for magical, or more ethereal or spiritual type nemesis or situations. Gotta be very cautious here as I fill in these little teeny tiny spots on her fingers. Kind of almost not in camera frame. You'll see how it's really kind of locking in solid as I drop these blacks in. For those of you just tuning in, I like to fill in these black parts last because it helps me avoid any possible smudging or smearing. And it helps me save in the live stream time. It saves me time not having to wait for this to dry to move to colors, because I've already done the colors, so it helps maximize our time here in the live stream if I do this last. Oh, I need to add a little blue to the X logo there. I forgot I needed to put some blue in there. Once I finish this leg, I'll do that real quick before I fill in the black of the other leg. I gotta say though, gang, I've had a lot of fun drawing this illustration. It's been so fun hanging out with y'all. Hope y'all are having a good time and enjoying San Diego Comic-Con weekend from wherever you are. Thanks for coming to spend time with me at my Artist Alley table here online. So I said I was going to add a little blue. Where's the B000? So right here. Just want to maintain that consistency. But yeah, this one, you know, took a while to do. A lot of things to figure out, especially there in those early stages. So I appreciate y'all sticking with me, for those of you that could. For those of you that had to leave and come back, thanks for coming back to watch on the replay. Those of you tuning in for the first time on the replay, thanks for watching as well. Feel free to leave a comment in the video, in the comment section below. All you live streamers, thanks for your comments and questions. Sorry I couldn't respond to every single one. I might still have time to respond to one or two before we sign off here. Still have a little bit of work to do here. We're not completely finished. Might have some color touch-ups before I sign off, but we are getting near the end of all of this. I want to punch up these grays just a little bit. Those light blues kind of lighten them up a bit more than I think I wanted. This might come in with a little neutral gray 3, I think. Might be sufficient to beef up the transition. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Just right there next to the black to get a better transition from black to blue to white. A little bit here in the X. All right, so let's see. Is there anything else I need to do? So actually, I'm going to take a little B00. I'm going to put a little more of a perimeter around this portal here, just to punch up the power effect just a smidge. And a little B000. No, actually going to just hop over to that B000 and blend down into the white a little bit more. And I want to take a little cool gray 4, I think it is. I want to put a little heavier shadow in the inside of her sleeve here. Just to kind of create a little bit of distance. Maybe a few little spots, a little heavier shadow. Inside that part of her belt. kind of gives her a little more depth, a little more shape, a little more volume. A little darker, a little cool gray too, and the darker further back in the hair, you know, underneath these luscious locks, a little more shadow back there can frame the face forward a little bit more, because less light is getting back underneath the underneath side of the hair. And so the lighter colors of her skin stand out a little bit more because we have deeper shadows to frame her face. If that makes sense. I need a little bit of cool gray to round out the eyes, the whites of her eyes a little bit. I'm going to take my Jelly Roll white gel pen, very, very fine, much finer tipped gel pen than my Uniball Signo, which you often see me use doing the white outline around a character like I did on Colossus this morning. Actually, I want to take a little bit of my black micron here and put in the iris. I was going to wait and do this for the iris of her eye. God, I needed to add that part. Put a little brown just above her eyelid. And now I can take this white gel pen and put a little bonus highlight in her eye. So it gives a little twinkle to the eye. So now I can take my micron. Where's my black micron? I can throw my signature across the bottom there. And today's date is the 23rd, July 2020. We can pull the camera back a little bit. We can see the illustration in its entirety. Let's maybe back it up a little bit more. I'll have a shot of this on my Instagram, my Twitter, and my Art of Todd Nauck Facebook page. My cell phone's about to run out of juice. How long have I been streaming here? I don't even know how long we've been going. Where's the time? Doesn't matter. Right now we're talking here. So let's see. Yes, Magik is the sister of Colossus. Yep. Thanks for all the comments, everybody. Doesn't X stand for X-Men? It does. The New Mutants were the younger version, the new teenage class of X-Men. Back in the 1980s, they introduced the New Mutants. So they went to Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters. In a sense, they were initially not being trained to be X-Men, but just being trained to use their powers in a safe way. But then over the course of the 80s, things got so dire that the New Mutants had to become heroes. Where that wasn't Charles Xavier's initial thought, but then Xavier had to leave. Magneto came in as the new headmaster, and then he's trying to fulfill Xavier's dream, but there's a lot of conflict there. And so, crazy story, good stuff, but essentially they are junior X-Men, for lack of a better term. So that's why there's the X, because these were their graduation uniforms that they weren't supposed to get until they graduated. But, you know, kids be kids. They went in and went ahead and put on their graduation uniforms well ahead of schedule and started being superheroes when they weren't really technically allowed to. Even though they did also have X's on their class uniforms as well, the yellow and black class uniforms. That the original X-Men were kind of a variation of the original X-Men uniform. So check to see if there's any new questions that came in. 2.5 hours we spent on this. Okay, that's not bad at all. So, gang, thanks so much for hanging out with me here for day one of the this San Diego Comic-Con at home. Thanks for coming by my online Artist Alley table. I will be appearing on another live stream later today. I don't think I'll be doing art, but I'll be talking about the art, my art and my approach to it in the industry with some guys who do a podcast, and they have a Twitch channel, and I'll be appearing on there. So I'm going to try to find out what the name of that channel is again, and hopefully I've gotten an email from them so I know when to where to log on with them. But that's at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Stay tuned to it. At the very least, my Twitter channel, or Twitter account, I should say. And I'll try to do my best to post an update and a link there, so you can just click that clickable link and go right to their Twitch page. If I can do that. So that's where I'll be this evening. I will be back here tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, for a new Post-it note illustration, which I will be giving away that Post-it note like I did the Colossus this morning. So you have to be watching to participate in that giveaway. So that's tomorrow morning. And then I'll be doing another sketch cover illustration is the plan tomorrow afternoon, same time as today's, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. So, yeah, is there anything else? Oh, and then I'll do the same thing on Saturday. All this info of my programming schedule is on toddnauck.com. That link is at the bottom of my links of social media links in the video description below. So, I will, so yeah, you can find out more of my YouTube San Diego Comic-Con weekend programming schedule there. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, tap the bell, set your notifications to alert you when I schedule my live streams so that you get a notification. I try to do it anywhere from 30 minutes to a couple of hours beforehand, so you can hopefully get that notification in time. And I also try to post the link on my social media as well, just prior. And yeah, so make sure you're subscribed to me. Please make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out and you can join me live. Anything else? Anything else? Microphone? Is there anything else? I think that's about it. As far as the podcast I'll be on tonight, come follow me on Twitter. That link to my Twitter is in the video description below. I'm at Todd Nauck on Twitter. I'm at Todd Nauck on Instagram as well. I will do my best to post a link, a clickable link, on my Twitter and hopefully my Instagram story, so that you can get to the Twitch channel I'll be appearing on tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, I better get to work and see if I can get that information out on my social media so you can come hang out with me and those guys who run a really fun podcast about comics there as well. So gang, thanks so much. I'll see you again. If not tonight, I'll see you here tomorrow morning. So till then, I'm Todd Nauck. Keep on drawing, keep having fun. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.